Hello, my name is Abby and I'm the Talking Book Librarian. Thank you for joining us for our book talk series. These videos will be recorded and out on the Indiana State Library's YouTube channel, as well as the Talking Book Facebook page. The purpose of these book talks is to provide book ideas for book clubs and to include questions for you to answer for yourself or in a book club setting. These videos will remain online forever, so you can decide to read these books whenever you would like. If you are interested in this book or any of the others that we do over this series, give the Talking Book employees a call at 800-622-4970. Feel free to pause the video anytime to answer any of the questions or to discuss. The book we will be talking about today is Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. We'll go to the next slide. Maybe. There we go. So Tuesdays with Morrie, there's a picture of the book over there. And then the overview of it is, maybe it was a grandparent or a teacher or a colleague, someone older, patient, and wise who understood you when you were young and searching and gave you the sound advice to help you make your way through it. For Mitch Albom, that person was Morrie Schwartz, his college professor from nearly 20 years ago. Maybe like Mitch, you lost track of this mentor as you made your way, and the insights that they had faded. Wouldn't you like to see that person again? Ask the bigger questions that still haunt you. Mitch Albom had that second chance. He rediscovered Morrie in the last months of the older man's life. Knowing he was dying of an ALS or a motor neuron disease, Mitch visited Morrie in his study every Tuesday, just like they used to back in college. Their rekindled relationship turned into one final class, lessons on how to live. And then about the author, there is a picture there on the left of him. About the author, Mitch Albom is the author of numerous books of fiction and nonfiction, which have collectively sold more than 40 million copies in 48 languages worldwide. He has written 8 #1 New York Times bestsellers, including Tuesdays with Morrie, the best-selling memoir of all time, which topped the list for 4 years straight and celebrates its 25th anniversary in 2022, so this year. Through his work at the Detroit Free Press, he was inducted into both the National Sports Media Association and Michigan Sports Halls of Fame, and is the recipient of the 2010 Red Smith Award for Lifetime Achievement. After best-selling memoir Finding Chica and Human Touch, the weekly serial magazine, written and published online in real time to raise funds for pandemic relief. His latest work is a return to fiction with New York Times bestseller, The Stranger in the Lifeboat, and that came out in 2021. In 2006, he founded the nonprofit Say Detroit, whose operations included a dessert shop and popcorn line to fund programs for Detroit's most underserved citizens. He also operates an orphanage in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, which he visits monthly. He lives with his wife, Janine, in Michigan. So he's a very busy author. He has a lot going on. And now we will move into the discussion questions. Discussion question 1, did your opinion about Mitch change as the book went on? In what way? Or in what way did it not change? Who do you think got more out of their Tuesday meetings, Mitch or Morrie? In what ways? How do you think each would answer this question for themselves? Discuss Morrie's criticism of Mitch throughout the book. Do you think Morrie should have been tougher on him or easier? Do you think Mitch would have listened if Morrie hadn't been dying? Does impending death automatically make one's voice able to penetrate where it couldn't before? Morrie referred to himself as a bridge, a person who is in between life and death, which makes him useful to others as a tool to understand both. Talk about other literary, historical, political, or religious figures who have also served this purpose. Most of us have read of people discussing the way that they'd like to die, or perhaps have been a part of that conversation. One common thought is that it would be best to live a long, healthy life and then die suddenly in one sleep. After reading this book, what do you think about that? Given a choice, would Morrie have taken that route instead of the path he traveled? On Nightline, Morrie spoke to Ted Koppel of the pain that he still felt about his mother's death 70 years prior in the interview. Is your experience with loss similar or different? Does what you read in this book help ease any of that pain? Morrie was 78 years old when he was diagnosed with ALS. How might he have reacted if he'd contracted the disease when he was Mitch's age? Would Morrie have come to the same conclusions, the same peace and acceptance? Or is his experience also a function of his age? Mitch made a list of topics about which he wanted Morrie's insight and clarity. In what ways would your list be the same or different? Discuss the book in terms of structure, voice, and tone, paying attention to Mitch's use of flashbacks and other literary devices. How do his choices add to the meaning? Morrie said, if you found meaning in your life, you don't want to go back. You want to go forward, on page 118. Is this true in your experience? Morrie believed you have to be strong enough to say, if the culture doesn't work, don't buy it. Create your own. Pages 35 through 36. How can people do this? How can this book help? As his visits with Morrie continued, Mitch explored some other cultures and religions and how each views death. Discuss these and others that you might have studied. To the very end, Mitch arrived at Morrie's house with food. Discuss the importance of this ritual. Was Morrie making a judgment on people who chose not to have kids with his statement, quote, if you want the experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children, on page 93. Whether or not he was judging, do you agree or disagree? Mitch wrote, perhaps this is one reason I was drawn to Morrie. He let me be where my brother would not, on page 97. Discuss Mitch's relationship with his brother Peter. Discuss the practical side of Morrie's advice. Quote, only an open heart will allow you to float equally between everyone, on page 128. How could this advice be useful the next time you're in a social or other situation where you feel out of place and uncomfortable? Morrie said that in marriage, your values must be alike, on page 149. In what ways do you agree or disagree? Would Morrie's lessons have carried less weight if Mitch and Peter hadn't resumed contact by book's end? And that's the end of the discussion questions. Those questions were found at readinggroupguides.com. If you just looked up Tuesdays with Morrie, those questions all popped up. And then I would now like to provide a few of my own thoughts on the book. It was a very short book, but it had a lot of good things into it. It was, sad at the same time. A person is dying. They give you great insight. I've read this the first time, I believe I was in high school, and going back and reading it now that I'm older and out of college for a few years, it does kind of lend more to some information that, maybe I want to use, and maybe it has more of an impact for me now that I'm older. And, I've had family members that have passed away, and I can kind of think about death and life in a different way than when I was in high school. It was really interesting, and I really enjoyed the book quite a bit. Of course, it was sad, but not all memoirs can be happy. And this one had a lot of good information in it. So I think it was definitely worth a read. I would recommend anybody that wants to read it to go ahead and give it a try. And so that will be it for today's talking book discussion about Tuesdays with Morrie. Tune in January for our next book. Thank you so much, guys.